is going on? Good morning. Ray Charles in the house here today. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you so much for getting up early and joining us. As you can see, one of us is getting ready to do a concert or hit the beach or something. The other one is ready for his Packers, and it looks like Scott's ready over there as well. Go Pack Go on the whiteboard. So we'll get his thoughts here in a minute, but appreciate you guys getting up early with us here, talking some NFL football. That will be the meat of the show here tonight. NBA only 3 games kicking off later. We want to try to dissect all that. If we have any thoughts, any bets, we'll throw them up on Twitter at Woodward Bets. No Michigan State today in college hoops. So Scott, NFL taking the reins here today. 2 big playoff games kicking off with Cincinnati at Tennessee, and the night game San Francisco coming to Lambeau Field. So Mr. Ray Charles, how we doing this morning?
Man, all the sun out and all this fabulous stuff we got going on today, Chris. The future is bright, so I had to put on the shades, but a little too dark for me to have those on in the house. But either way,
I was gonna say, is it a hangover cure? You're trying to hide that hangover from Friday night.
Oh, there'll be a hangover after today, Chris. As we talked about yesterday, we got the big fantasy football party going to be rolling today over here at my house. I got all kinds of beer, all kinds of food, all kinds of fun on the docket today. So that should be a lot of fun. But, yeah, I mean, man, we're getting to the good nitty-gritty of the NFL here. I mean, we got these 8 teams here. I don't think we could have handpicked any 8 better teams here. Maybe the matchups could have been a little bit different. But, yeah, really looking forward. We got 2 good games today. Got all kinds of DFS action bets. We got all kinds of player props. We're going to have some fun today, Chris. So let's dive into this stuff here and see what we got. What kind of brew we can muster up here. Let's get us some money for today, buddy.
Absolutely. We're going to dig into these games and get you as many bets and things that we like as possible. So we'll get to that in a minute, but wanted to get the sponsor of the show here some shine. We're glad to have them on board. That's My Better Rate Mortgage. And My Better Rate Mortgage, family is more than blood. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, Scott, get treated better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit mybetterrate.com or give them a call, 248-480-4467 for all of your mortgage needs. Happy to have them on board as the sponsor here of the Woodward Bets show. So mybetterrate.com, go and check them out today. All right, Scott, we want to just dive into things. And how was your Friday night? Are we ready to rock today? Is the party ready to go here? I'm excited for you. I wish I could be there. I had some other commitments going on for today, but you all set up, you all ready to go?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, there's you can't go wrong. We got some ribs we got them in the oven. I can smell them. We got some Lee's chicken gonna come through the door. You can't beat that. We got a fridge full of Coronas, Modelos, and yeah, all you saw was some Corona and Modelo, Chris, but I still have some other little fancy beers that are in the door of my fridge. There's all kinds there that you'd probably enjoy. Those breakfast stouts are in there. We got some M43s that I actually did buy some other M43s. So looking forward to that. And of course, we got some gummies. We got some pre-rolls. We got all kinds of stuff here ready to go today, Chris. I got a new heater for the smoking lounge, which actually is AKA also known as the garage, which has a full DirecTV hookup, refrigerator, and bar in the garage as well. So we're going to have us a good time. And Chris, the one thing I want to see go down. Now, at my house, we have a Miss Pac-Man game, and the high score is 68,000, which is the high score of my girlfriend, Michelle, who she's very proud of that score. Nobody's even come close to that 68,000. So I'm going to put a little bounty on that machine today because I'm hoping somebody comes in this door today and knocks off that Miss Pac-Man score because I've been hearing about that score now since for about 2 or 3 months. So hopefully somebody rolls in here and smashes that Miss Pac-Man score for me today.
Love it. I mean, you got it all going on. I'm kind of sad I'm not going to be there. I mean, it's anything you need, you got. Be careful with them M43s. Those will sneak up on you pretty quickly. So just take it easy with those. But excited for sure for your party for these games, and I'm excited to watch my team later tonight. But Scott, let's dig into these games. That's what we are here to do, is break these things down. So let's get into the first game, Cincinnati and Tennessee. The spread has really not moved a whole lot. We're still sitting at Tennessee -3.5, pretty much every place out there. A little bit of a discount on the juice at a few places. Points bet, you can grab that at -105. This total is kind of hung steady as well at 47.5 across the board here. If you're looking at the under, a little -108 action on FanDuel today. So, Scott, we talked about it yesterday. Derrick Henry officially activated. Sounds like he will be all systems go today. So let's start there. I think it's a big question in your DFS contest. Now, we talked about it earlier in the week. If you're playing on DraftKings, their focus this week is the 4-game slate. They still have Saturday only, Sunday only, but the bigger money is on the 4-game slate. If you're on FanDuel, it's the opposite. Their bigger tournaments are today only, tomorrow only. They do have a 4-game slate available. So, a little bit of a flavor of everything out there. But let's start with Derrick Henry here, Scott. Look at some of the props for him here in the market as you're talking. But are you going to play him today? He's expensive, $7,500 here over on DraftKings, $9,000 on FanDuel. So the most expensive running back. Are we expecting typical Derrick Henry? Are we expecting them to break things down? D'Onta Foreman's been pretty good filling the shoes there of Henry. So do we expect some sort of committee here? Let's start there. How do you think this plays out with Derrick Henry today?
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about yesterday, I was a little skeptical yesterday. I wasn't sure, maybe they use him as a decoy. Is he going to get a full workload or what? But, man, I've been looking around, talking, reading about what some of these beat writers are saying, and I'm highly encouraged. I mean, it looks like he had a really good week at practice. He faced some contact. He shined in all the individual drills. He appears powerful. They say he appears explosive. He's been dancing around after having that steel plate put in his foot there. But I think they're saying he's at full speed. So, Chris, I mean, Cincinnati losing their nose tackle and that defensive tackle, Larry Jobidai. How do you say that? Joby. Either way. But he is the guy there that I think they need to worry about missing him. They're averaging 6.4 yards a carry without him in that defense. So, man, I know Cincinnati's happy they got that first playoff win since 1991 when Boomer Esiason and Ickey Woods beat Warren Moon and the Oilers 41-14 in the 1991 wild card round. Chris, I just graduated high school, and I do remember the Ickey Woods shuffle. And Warren Moon, I mean, that was a guy, Chris, I used to pick at the top of all the fantasy drafts. Warren Moon used to sling that ball around like crazy back in the day, a lot more than any other quarterback. But, yeah, I think I'm liking the Titans. I mean, you look at these anytime touchdown props. Derrick Henry's a -195 on FanDuel. I mean, that is for a guy who hasn't played in a while, I think that touchdown prop says it all. I think Vegas expects him to give it a full go as well. So I'm all on board, Chris. Derrick Henry, he's a guy that could smash the slate and easily could score a couple touchdowns and get over 100 yards, if you ask me. So Derrick Henry, fired him up, Chris. If I have 100 lineups, I'm going to guess I'm probably going to have him on probably 60 or 70 of those 100 lineups. I really like Derrick Henry.
All right, well, let's ask the question for the girl playing one lineup. Are you putting him in there? If all your eggs are in one basket, then we have some other choices. If you're just playing today, I think your other choice is obviously Davonte Adams, a guy that you're going to want to spend up on at the receiver position. So can you get both? Sure, but it makes life a little bit easier if you make that decision. So a one lineup, Derrick Henry or Davonte Adams?
I think I'm going to go with Derrick Henry, Chris. I just think that Derrick Henry is going to be a little bit more of the focus point of that offense. I really like Henry. I think there's some if you do some creative maneuvering, you could actually get Derrick Henry and Davonte Adams. I've built a few lineups, but then there's some thin pickings at tight end and maybe one of the receiver spots, and then have to pay down for another running back, maybe somebody like A.J. Dillon or somebody along those lines. But, yeah, Chris, I mean, you can get creative. You can jam both of them in, especially on FanDuel. I think it's a little bit easier. But, Yeah, I'm firing up Derrick Henry. All cylinders, 9K, no doubt. Give me some Derrick Henry, and like I said, Davonte Adams is another guy you could jam in. But I mean, you're looking at guys like maybe Tannehill at quarterback, something like that. But I'm not afraid. I think those are two of the best plays today. But yeah, Derrick Henry all day for me, especially if I'm only playing one lineup.
All right, so you mentioned the touchdown prop, minus 195 here in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Rushing yards, 80 and a half. I'm guessing you're going over on that number here as well. I mean, that's a pretty encouraging number. If you are concerned about, I have some concern. I think what happens here, Scott, is they're going to use Derrick Henry as much as they need to. So, we always say, tell yourself a story. If this is a competitive game, I think they're going to use him as much as they have to win this game. Now, if the game gets out of hand, they get out to a big enough lead, they likely sit him down, and that can happen with anybody. So that's the concern if you get on any of these props. But 80 and a half, I'm guessing you're liking the over on that number.
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, Cincinnati's 22nd against the run in points allowed. And then, like we mentioned, they're missing two big keys for that defense. So I think that you could get where you get Foreman still involved as well. But I think Derrick Henry should get a majority of the carries today. I think he's ready. I mean, just seeing some of the videos, looks like he's upbeat, looks like he's ready to go. I've seen him run in full speed in some of these videos. He looks great to me. And as I mentioned, I think it's really big that Cincinnati's missing those two defensive players, starters on that side of the ball. So if Tennessee's going to win, Chris, it's going to have to be through Derrick Henry, and I like their chances.
All right, first touchdown prop. He leads the way there as well. You get plus 460 on that one, so I don't hate that either. And then a guy of his caliber, Scott, I always like to dig a little bit deeper. These sportsbooks have done a great job at offering so many different things. So on FanDuel, you can do this as part of a single game parlay as well, which is a lot of fun. But to score 2 touchdowns, Derrick Henry sitting at plus 310. If you want to stretch it all the way to 3 touchdowns, plus 1,200 here on the big man to score 3 times. So any of those tickle your fancy? I kind of like this plus 1,200 and come back with a bang. I mean, we know he's their featured guy around the goal line. It's 3 touchdowns out of the question here for Derrick Henry.
I've seen enough of Derrick Henry in his career to say that is never out of the reach. I mean, especially, I believe they're going to give him the ball. As you said, they're going to give him the ball in the red zone. I mean, they're a team, if they get it inside that 10, they give Derrick Henry the ball 3 times, and they are not afraid. They'll give him the ball 4 times, Chris. I mean, how many teams do you see, like, they'll try to run the first or second time and third down, they're dropping back and throwing the ball. But, man, I think Derrick Henry definitely has an opportunity to score some touchdowns today. I think 3 is, obviously, that's going to be tough for him to get 3, but plus 1,200, you're betting on Derrick Henry. I mean, if he falls in the end zone in the first half twice, and you're sitting there with a plus 1,200 bet and just need Derrick Henry to score one more time in that second half, man, I'd really like my chances on getting something like that. But, yeah, give me some Derrick Henry today. I like all his props today, buddy. I just think you're kind of getting a discount, in my opinion. I mean, if he had played even at 80% of what he had been from up to week 8, and he played all the way through, I think these numbers are higher. I mean, his rushing prop would probably be a little higher. I think some of these numbers would be a little bit different. So in a sense, in a weird way, I kind of feel like I'm getting a discount just because he hasn't played in so long, and there is some uncertainty. But I'm not even going to be concerned about any of that uncertainty, Chris. Fire me up some Derrick Henry, and let's see what we can get today out of the stud running back.
Yeah, I like it. That plus 1,200, a little bit of a couple bucks on that one, but I don't mind the 2 touchdowns either. Cincinnati, 13 rushing touchdowns allowed this season, was in the bottom half of the league, so certainly a little bit vulnerable there. Let's turn our attention to the quarterbacks here, Scott. Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill. Burrow obviously has been a big story here over the last couple of weeks, really playing at a high level. I'm putting numbers on the board, almost at a video game type level. So some of their props, Burrow sitting at 278.5 as far as passing yards go. Tannehill sitting at 238.5. Thoughts on either of those? The touchdown props, both at 1.5. Tannehill, you get plus 108 on the over. Burrow, you got to pay minus 172 for the over there. So any thoughts on these quarterbacks in general for fantasy? Any interest in these props here today?
You know, I mean, you look at it. I mean, Joe Burrow was the NFL's most sacked quarterback here in the regular season. I mean, they're going to have to protect him today, so we'll see if they're able to do so. I'm going to actually lean toward the under in his passing prop. I think 278 is a little bit too high for me today. I mean, and I'm thinking there, Chris, if we expect Derrick Henry to have a big game like that, I mean, they're gonna probably lead the game in time of possession, and I think if that's the case, and you end up getting Joe Burrow with limited opportunities today, I just don't see them, being able to score quickly on this Tennessee defense. I think Tennessee is going to want to play a slow-paced game. So with that being in mind, unless Joe Burrow and Cincinnati just falls behind by 3 scores real early, I just don't see Joe Burrow dropping back and throwing all that much to get over the 280 yards. They would definitely need a couple big plays. Now, we have seen Tennessee struggle against the pass. I mean, they are one of the worst teams against wide receiver, the 31st in the league, sure. But I'm concerned if they can protect him. Like I said, we'll see. I think Vrabel's smart enough to draw up, some different schemes that may confuse the rookie, or the youngster. She's not a rookie anymore, but the youngster. But yeah, I do think Joe Burrow, I'm going to lean towards some of the unders in his passing props.
Yeah, let me lay out the argument on both sides here. I mean, the Titans, we know, were vulnerable against quarterbacks. They allow, the 9th most passing yards this season. Actually, 7th most passing yards, 4,485. So that is in the camp of a Burrow over. You also, if we expect Tennessee to win this game, and this goes along with telling yourself a story, if they're playing from behind, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. So 2 check marks in the over category. But let me get on the other side, though, Scott. And this guy has not been as good on the road. When you just look at some splits here for Joe Burrow, now you got 10 games at home and 7 on the road. So a little bit of a grain of salt here. But home games, he averaged 322 passing yards per game. You go on the road, averaged 232 yards per game. And only once this entire season did he clear that 278 on the road. And that, of course, was that loony game in Baltimore where he threw for 400 yards. So even in the game here in Detroit, 271, a couple games under 200, including his last 2 road games in Denver, just 157 in that one, 148 against Las Vegas, just 172 at Pittsburgh, and 207 in Chicago. So there's trends on both sides of this. And again, do you think they keep the game close? Can Joe Mixon get things going? That tends to lean more to an under. So I think I'm there with you more so on that under. The numbers have certainly supported that. Receiving wise, look at some of the numbers here. The big names, A.J. Brown, prop sitting at 74.5 on his receiving yard. Other side, Jamar Chase, 71.5. T. Higgins at 65.5. Julio Jones at 47.5. Tyler Boyd, 45.5. So any thoughts on any of those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I feel more strongly about the Derrick Henry side. I mean, A.J. Brown obviously is I'm not really sure. I think that seems a little high to me, the A.J. Brown over 75, but over 74.5. But, I think a guy like T. Higgins is a guy possibly to look at here today, as you mentioned. I mean, 65.5, I kind of like that. I like that more than the Jamar Chase 77.5. I think I'm going to stay away from that one. But as far as T. Higgins goes, I think T. Higgins today is I do like his matchups against that part of the secondary. I mean, hey, let's be real. I mean, that Tennessee defense has struggled against the pass. They're going to be focusing on Chase. So I kind of like these other guys here, Boyd and Higgins, to shake loose today.
Yeah, nothing here really jumps out to me either. I mean, Cincinnati, it's so tough to predict who it's going to be. And Chase has been the most consistent guy. I like Higgins as a bounce back as well, especially in fantasy, Scott. We know he was very, very highly owned last week and he didn't do anything in that game, but he's also been so much better at home. You look at some of the splits for T. Higgins. He's been a monster here at home. A couple of interesting alternate bets. A.J. Brown to go over 100 yards receiving, plus 230 here in the FanDuel Sportsbook, and Jamar Chase to go over 100 yards plus 178. So you think either of those are going to go nuclear? I don't mind going a little higher than the line they give you and getting those at plus odds, Scott. I mean, you're going from the 74.5 on A.J. Brown at minus 114. You're adding, 26 yards, whatever it is. You're giving yourself plus 230 odds. So he's going to go nuts, probably goes over 100 yards. I don't mind going for some of those. But as far as the standard numbers, I'll leave those alone. Wanted to touch on Joe Mixon here as well. 60.5 on his rushing prop here in rushing and receiving yards, 83.5. So any thoughts there real quick? Tough matchup. I mean, Tennessee, their weakness is certainly the secondary. They've been very good against the run, but we know how much volume Joe Mixon gets. So this number seems a little bit too low, but the matchup certainly justifies it. So thoughts on that, 60 or 83.5? You like either of those?
Not really. I mean, his touch counts have been there. He's always been around 20-some touch counts. He has had 19 targets over his last 3 games, so I think that is interesting. But, I mean, Mixon could get taken out of this game quite easily, especially if they get behind. So I think that's what worries me is the game script being negative against them. So that is concerning. But I think, too, I'm going to have to see here about Janoris Jenkins. I'm not sure if Tennessee is going to be able to roll out one of their better cornerbacks here today. And if that's the case, I really like Higgins and some of these other receivers a little bit more. But as far as Mixon goes, Chris, I just think, I'm going to mix them in on some of my teams today. As I mentioned, I'm going to play 100 teams in that $5 FanDuel thing today. But I think I'll have a little bit of Mixon, not as much as Henry, that's for sure. But I'm just afraid that, I mean, Mixon could fall in the end zone, Chris, and he might have less than 50 yards and may not put up, that big of a score to where he's going to be optimal. He's going to be on the winning teams today. But I'm just afraid of the negative game script here for Mixon.
You're going to mix him in, or you're going to mix him in to those lineups?
A little bit of both there. Yeah. Hey,
little there for you on Mixon. But I do like this receiving prop on him, Scott. I found this one while I was digging around, 19.5 yards. Seems like a pretty fair number here, and you can make the case if it's competitive, he's involved in the passing game. If they get behind, he's involved in the passing game. Last 3 games, 70, 40, and 28 receiving yards, 6, 7, and 4 receptions here. So that number, he can get that done on a couple catches here. As far as receptions go for Mixon, 3.5, and the over you get plus 154 here on FanDuel. So those could be some numbers if you're looking. I don't hate that. Either of those, actually. I prefer the receiving yards. Again, that the 3.5 is, that's why they're giving you plus odds, is he probably catches 2 to 3 balls, but I think he can escape that 19.5 receiving yards. So, all right, we covered all the props here. We gave you some of the ones that we like. As far as a bet on this game, we'll have to see what happens here at the end if this makes our best bets category at the end of the show. So anything else in this one, Scott, before we dig in to this San Francisco Green Bay Packers showdown?
No, I mean, you look at this game, Chris, you even look at where the money's coming in on this Cincinnati-Tennessee game. It's fairly even. So I do like this game here. This Tennessee-Cincinnati game, Chris, I'm actually glad is first, because this is the one I did struggle with the most all week. I wasn't quite sure if I was buying into the hype with the young kid when Joe Burrow and the boys in Cincinnati, or I was getting lulled to sleep by this number 1 seed AFC team here who now is getting back their workhorse. So I'm just more excited about Derrick Henry, seeing how well he looks and how good he looks in all these drills and everything else. So fire me up some Derrick Henry, Chris, and hopefully we get a good game there. Start our weekend off. Let's have a good game. I don't want to blow out. I'd like to see us a game close to the end of the wire here, and hopefully it falls our way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have a spread total picks for this one at the end of the show. Let's get into Saturday night. San Francisco traveling to Lambeau Field, take on the Green Bay Packers. Looks like the spread settling in at 5.5 on this one. So, a little higher than opened up at 5. We saw it go to 6, saw it bet back down to 5.5. Total, mostly 47s. There are some 47.5. So again, that half a point can be all the difference depending on what side of things you're on. You want that over, obviously hunt down these 47s. If you're looking at it under, you can still get some 47.5. So let's just take a look at the 10,000-foot view of this game. I know there's some concern about Jimmy Garoppolo and some of the injuries he's dealing with. Scott, not listed on the injury report for this game. So he is good to go, and I think that's what brought the spread back down to kind of where we've seen it most of the week. We mentioned yesterday, no major injuries in this one. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is doubtful here for Green Bay. So doubtful usually means you're not playing. They do get Randall Cobb back, who we haven't seen for quite some time, and he's one of my favorite value plays on the slate. We know how dependent Aaron Rodgers can be on him, so you clear one guy out. I know Lazard's been good. We know Adams the headliner, but Cobb can certainly provide some value. Just 3,100 on DraftKings this week. So let's just get into this game. We'll start to dig in some of the props like we did with the last game, but just again, the overall view of this game, how do you see this one going?
Man, if Bosa's out, I think that's big time trouble for San Francisco. But hey, if Green Bay wins, Chris, they're going to do something that Jim Harbaugh was the last guy to do, and that was to get yourself to 3 NFC Championship games in a row. And I think Aaron Rodgers is focused. I think he's just been tired of all the bullshit that's been going around with this season, and everything surrounding his vaccine status and everything that went on there. And I think you're going to have an Aaron Rodgers that's focused. I think especially if there's no Bosa chasing him down, I think you could see Aaron Rodgers just sit back there and he's going to pick apart this San Francisco. I do like a lot of points to be scored in this game too, but man, I think this one here is going to be a great game. San Francisco is pesky. I mean, they've been playing good. They're confident. Obviously, Deebo Samuel has emerged as one of the best stars here in the NFL. But, I'm excited about these Packers here, Chris. I know I'm a little bit more on the Packers than you are. I know you were thinking that maybe possibly San Francisco could cover the spread, but the Packers are going to win. But I'm not buying it, Chris. I think the Packers at home are going to be too much to deal with in that cold weather for San Francisco, especially after their last big win against Dallas. But give me these Packers here, Chris, and Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, I got all my gear on. I'm expecting them to play well, but I try to leave my fandom at the door here when we do the Woodward Bet Show. So I'm certainly going to do that and look at it through the analytic and statistical lens here of this game. So let's look at some of the props here in this one. As far as Bosa goes, practiced yesterday, so he's going to be questionable, but obviously a good sign for him to get that practice in on Friday. So it would be a surprise to me if he was not in the game here today. But again, props, we'll start with some of the touchdown props, Scott. Some of the favorites here in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Davonte Adams obviously leading the way at minus 145 for an anytime touchdown. Aaron Jones minus 110. Deebo on the other side at minus 110. You mentioned A.J. Dillon. He's sitting at plus 115. Elijah Mitchell plus 110. But the interesting one here for me, Scott, to George Kittle, plus 190 anytime touchdown score. And I know he hasn't been great here over about the last month of the season, but it's the one spot if you're going to pick on Green Bay, that is certainly the way you can do it. As far as the first touchdown goes, Adams plus 500, Jones 650, Deebo 700, Dillon 750, Elijah Mitchell 800, and Kittle, like we mentioned, plus 1,100. So let's start with the touchdown props, Scott. Anything jumping out there for you?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I like A.J. Dillon to score today, Chris, at plus 115. I think Dillon is going to be the guy that they're probably going to rely on, especially like within that 5-yard line. If they get within the 5, Chris, I think A.J. Dillon is a guy they're just going to turn and hand it to. So I do like Dillon to score a touchdown today. I think you're going to get both running backs, I think, should get I'm going to guess maybe like an equal share. Maybe you can convince me otherwise, but I can see them using, if one gets hot, I think they're going to continue. So Dillon is the guy I think people would probably not expect to get as much, but I think if Dillon gets hot, I think they're just going to keep feeding him, Chris. So I do like A.J. Dillon in this game a little bit here to score a touchdown. Now, we're looking at, first touchdown scorers in this game. Davonte Adams is at plus 500, Deebo Samuel at plus 700. But you go to your George Kittle call, he's plus 1,100, Chris, to score the first touchdown. Now, I think that's a decent bet. I mean, we know we like those big numbers there, especially in situations like this. So your Randall Cobb plus 1,200, Chris, to score the first touchdown. So those are a couple guys there I think could sneak in. But yeah, as you mentioned, Green Bay has struggled a little bit against the tight end. So maybe we do look at a guy like George Kittle to score the first touchdown.
Yeah, we'll dig into some of his props as well. I like him a lot in DFS here today. You know, if you're playing the 4-gamer, you obviously have Travis Kelce and Gronk, to choose from. But I think Kittle, just with the recency bias, the way he's been playing the last couple of weeks, people are going to kind of shy away from him. So as far as the running backs go, they generally tend to, they're going to probably split pretty close. And they generally tend to play at a drive. It's if you're in on the drive, you stay in on the drive. So I don't mind the Dillon calls. He's been so good around the goal line. In fact, we talked about it with Derrick Henry, but to score 2 touchdowns, you're getting plus 650 on A.J. Dillon. I think 3 is probably a little bit of a stretch, but if you want to play that game, plus 4,600 on A.J. Dillon for 3 touchdowns. So I don't hate a little sprinkle on that, but I do like the 2-touchdown prop here for him. So let's stay with the running backs here. Looking at some of the yardage props, we got Elijah Mitchell leading the way, 80.5. So a big number, the same number you're getting for Derrick Henry here. So I think that's good news for DFS. We know Mitchell has been their primary back outside of Deebo Samuel, stealing some touches. And you got to imagine the Niners are going to try to pound the ball and keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. So that number is, I don't know that I want to bet on it, Scott, but sometimes you look at these and it makes you feel a little bit better about the guy in fantasy. So he's projecting well. Deebo Samuel, 38.5 for his rushing prop. And then on the Green Bay side, Aaron Jones at 50.5, Dillon at 39.5. So anything stand out of those 4 guys?
Yeah, Dillon at 39.5 is something that I'm going to want to look at. I mean, I even like Aaron Jones at the 50.5, actually. I think, Green Bay is going to want to try to come out and run a little bit here. I think that they're going to want to probably try to establish the run a little bit, but and then try to work off some play action, try to get Davonte Adams free. But yeah, I think I like both running backs here for Green Bay today. Deebo Samuel 38.5. I think that's interesting. I think that number is about right. I mean, we've seen him break, several runs. So I mean, he could actually get that quite easily. But yeah, Chris, I'm a little bit concerned about the Deebo Samuel props. I think Green Bay is going to be aware of Deebo Samuel, but yeah, I'm more happy with the A.J. Dillon rushing prop.
Yeah, I like that one too. Looking into some of his numbers here, he's crossed this number. Let's see, 63, 63. Yeah, he's beaten that number in 5 out of the last 7 games, Scott. So, I mean, he's going to get the touches there. It's a little bit lower than Jones, so it makes me like the Dillon prop a little bit more. It seems a little low at 39.5, a little bit of juice, but you're getting that on both sides here, unfortunately, on this one at minus 114. So as far as rushing and receiving, I think that's really where, if you're looking at Deebo, that one probably makes more sense. 93.5 combined there. Aaron Jones at 77.5. So I don't hate that Deebo prop, getting more and more involved in that offense. That rushing prop, again, just 38.5. Let's take a look at the quarterbacks here. Passing yardage, Aaron Rodgers, 265.5. Jimmy Garoppolo down at 229.5. Garoppolo touchdowns, 1.5 is the number. Over, you get plus 102. Rodgers is sitting at 2.5. Over gets you plus 154. Under, minus 210. So anything on any of those numbers, again, 265 and 229 for the yardage.
Yeah, I think I would stay away from the Jimmy G props to under 229. I think I would roll with an under. I don't think I would look at any kind of overs there. But, I mean, as far as the passing touchdowns go, Chris, I think I would lean toward the under. Aaron Rodgers minus 2, under 2.5. I mean, that's a big number, minus 210. But, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers, I got him throwing 2 touchdowns today, and I have Dillon and Aaron Jones both scoring today. So I think the Packers are going to put up 30. I do like the Packers team total today. I think that's something that I'm going to be looking at. But, yeah, I think I'm going to go under Aaron Rodgers 2.5 passing props. I just don't like that number. Minus 210, it just seems to be a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, he's landed on two a lot of games. I mean, he's thrown at least two touchdowns in every game but two. One was that season opener against New Orleans, we know was terrible. The other one was that game against Seattle, middle of the season. They won 17-0. A very low scoring game. Didn't have to do a whole lot, but I mean, he lands on two touchdowns an awful lot here. I mean, I'm seeing some threes and some fours at home, averaging. Let's see, he's got 20 touchdown passes in 8 games. So, he's right there on that 2.5. Yardage wise, 275 a game at home. I'm going to disagree on the Garoppolo, though. I think you could break this down a lot of ways. If it's competitive, maybe he doesn't get there, but 229.5, a pretty low number here for Jimmy Garoppolo. Average 267 a game on the road this season. And if they're playing from behind at all, he's going to have to throw that much more. Now, you look back at last week, this is the concern. If they're in the game, they're going to run, they're going to take the ball out of his hands. Only had 172 passing yards last week, but I mean, he's got 316, 322 in the last two road games. Before that, against the Rams and the Titans, 296 in Cincinnati, 299 in Seattle. So I don't mind that one. I'm kind of with you on the Rodgers props. I'll probably sit those out, but I don't mind a little bit of an over here on Jimmy Garoppolo again, especially if you expect Green Bay to kind of control this game. Receiving props here. Let's see. Yardage wise, we'll give you some of the big names. Adams, 94.5. So a big number there for him. Debo, 54.5. Kittle and Ayuk both sitting at 50.5. Allen Lazard at 38.5. So running backs wise, 22.5 for Jones. And then Randall Cobb, 25.5. Scott, I think I like that Randall Cobb one the best out of any of these here. I'm potentially that George Kittle number on the other side.
I'll tell you the ones I like, Chris. For one, your Packers are getting back a stud pass rusher. Zadarius Smith is coming back after his week 1 injury. So I'm a little concerned about that here for them. And for me, I like the under. My favorite prop of this game, other than the Packers team total, I like the under in the Brandon Ayuk passing yards. I mean, he's gonna get Green Bay's top corner, Jair Alexander, and now you're adding this pass rush. I just don't think they get the time to throw him down the field. So I'll be looking at the under for Brandon Ayuk. I just do not like that at all. But yeah, I mean, getting back that horse there for you guys on that defensive side of the ball, I mean, that is going to be a total disruption for San Francisco, which is another reason why I like your Packers today. I mean, they're getting healthier, Chris. Now, hopefully this layoff here this week here does not affect them. I know we've heard before, teams don't like to have a week to sit out, but I think it helped the Packers here in this case, especially getting a guy like Smith back. But yeah, give me the unders in the Brandon Ayuk receiving yards. I just don't think with Alexander being on him and getting that pass rush that they're going to be able to get the ball to Ayuk.
Yeah, I don't hate that for sure. I mean, it's Alexander back. Zadarius, like you mentioned, has been out all season long. He was an absolute stud last season. So defensively, it makes the job a little bit easier and tougher on the Niners. So I don't hate that one. I do, again, I like that over on Randall Cobb, especially with Marquez Valdes-Scantling out. This number seems too low. I mean, he was a guy getting a bunch of targets in this offense. Aaron Rodgers loves him some Randall Cobb. I mean, find somebody that loves you the way Aaron Rodgers loves Randall Cobb, and you're going to do all right in this life. So 25.5 receiving yards seems way too low here. So I'm all over that one here as well. As far as receptions go, nothing there for Randall Cobb. Unfortunately, I'd be all over that. Adams, 7.5 here. Kittle, just 4.5. I like that one. Debo, also 4.5 on the San Francisco side. And then if you want to go under again on Ayuk, 4.5 on his receptions, a little bit of juice on that under. So any other thoughts here on this game fantasy-wise? Again, the running backs for Green Bay in play. Adams, if you can fit him, is always a monster at home. Debo on the other side has been phenomenal. I like George Kittle here, and then Randall Cobb as a value play to kind of sum everything up here.
I mean, if there's no MVS, Chris, I think Lazard is a guy too. I'm going to be looking at last 5 games. Dude's got 28 targets, 21 catches, 290 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, the numbers are there. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers trusts them. So, if there's no MVS, Chris, I think some of these Allen Lazard props might be a little low as well. So I think Allen Lazard to score a touchdown is decent. Allen Lazard over 38.5 receiving yards. I think I'd be interested in that as well. So I'm going to keep my eye on MVS. If he appears not to play, I'm going to try to get in there a little early. You know, if people hear that MVS is out, some of these numbers on these secondary Green Bay receivers might start climbing up a little bit here. But I think Allen Lazard could be a forgotten guy here in this offense that people aren't thinking about. I mean, especially looking at them last 5 games. I mean, the dude has been lighting up the scoreboard. So 5 touchdowns, 290 yards. I mean, that's not bad at all, especially over a 5-game stretch.
Yeah, he's been good. I mean, Lazard's targets have been steady for sure. I mean, the receptions have certainly been there, and the yardage has been there. So, 75, 72 the last 2 games, 75 back against Chicago, even at 45 against Cleveland. So he's crossing this number pretty much each and every week. And again, 5, 6 targets. So he's beaten that 5 target number in 3 of the last 5. So those secondary receivers, I don't expect Valdes-Scantling to play, Scott. I'm going to be honest. When you have that doubtful tag, it's very rare that you're going to be there. Matt LaFleur did not sound super optimistic about him. So that's another reason, to like Lazard, to like Cobb, is MVS is kind of that deep ball guy for them. You take him away, somebody has to help fill that role. And I think it could be a combination of both of these guys, but more so Lazard. If you're looking at Lazard and Cobb's more of the underneath guy that's going to get those targets. That's why I like that prop for him. I wish there was a receptions prop, but Lazard crossing that yardage prop makes more sense without MVS in the lineup, and the focus heavily on Davonte Adams. So a great call there for sure. So, all right, it's time. Best bets time. We broke these games down top to bottom, dug into some of the props here, gave our thoughts in fantasy, plenty of plays for you in DFS to help build those lineups. But we got to get the best of the best here, Scott. Let's wrap this thing up. Looks like an exciting day of football, but let's get the people some winners, our best bets here for Saturday. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to start with that first game, Chris, and that first game, Cincinnati and Tennessee. I would lean the under in this game, but I'm all over these Derrick Henry props. Give me Derrick Henry to get over those 80 yards. That is my favorite one in that game there. I'm not as strong as I mentioned. I still, of the 4 games, that one was the toughest for me. But, man, this Green Bay game, I like the under in the AU props. I like the bet. My favorite bet of the day, Chris, is the Green Bay Packers team total over 30. I think that is a number that I want there. And then just give me the Packers too. I think the Packers roll today. I'll take them all day long. I even maybe look at an alternative line today and maybe see if I can get them close to 7 to 10 points and see what those numbers look like. But definitely like a Lazard props today as well. But that Green Bay team total, give me that over. That's my favorite bet of the day.
All right, I'm going to give you 2 out of each game. I'm going to give you a spread or a total bet that I like, and then one of my favorite props out of each game. So we gave you a bunch of stuff to look at and consider. So dig into it, do your own research, see what you like. But the best of the best for me, I'm rolling with the Titans here at home, Scott. 3.5 seems a little bit too low on this number. We're talking about the number 1 seed in the AFC, like you mentioned in the beginning, over Buffalo, over Kansas City, a team that's rested, a team getting their stud guy, Derrick Henry, back, and a mismatch along the lines. And we talked about it yesterday or Thursday on the bottom line with Braylon. He brought up a great point, is that Cincinnati's offensive line is still, they're better than they were last year. But when you're at the bottom, okay, you're better. PFF ranked them 22nd, and you're going against guys like Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, these are some studs. So I think Burrow's going to be under siege. So I like the Titans. I also like that Mixon receiving prop. Digging through all of these numbers, 19.5 seems too low. And if they are going to be playing from behind, or Burrow is under pressure, he's going to be dumping the ball off a lot here to Joe Mixon. So Tennessee -3.5, really like that. And Joe Mixon over 19.5. As far as the late game tonight, I know I've been on San Francisco for most of the week. I'm going to leave the spread alone. I'm going to go with you. I like that Green Bay team total, but I'm going to go over on this one. I even with some of the additions back in the lineup, we're not going to get 100% of snaps for Jair Alexander or Zadarius Smith. I think these guys are going to work in, so it helps. But I think the Niners are going to find some success here. I think they score points. I think Green Bay wins. I'm not sure by the margin, so I want to leave the spread alone, but I do like the total in this game. And my favorite prop here, I'm going back to Randall Cobb. Over 25.5 receiving yards seems way too low. I'm with you. The Lazard, great point there. I like George Kittle's props. Love some of those A.J. Dillon touchdown props we talked about, but that Randall Cobb number is too low. Grab it here before it starts to skyrocket here. So Titans, Joe Mixon, and the over in this game, and the over on Randall Cobb's receiving yards for me. Money flying everywhere, and we certainly hope that's the case here with you guys and your bets on these two playoff games. So, Scott, final thoughts for the people here for Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down the Sunday games, but dug pretty deep on these games. Final thoughts for the people here for Saturday. What do you got?
Man, appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully you guys get down there and hit that subscribe button for us. We definitely appreciate that. But, hey, I'm going to be partying today, Chris. The main thing is be safe, have fun, and let's get us some winners today. And we'll be back tomorrow. Look, we get 2 days in a row of this NFL-type playoff football, so we can't complain. This is the, next week we're only going to have 1 day of this here. So this is the last time we're getting these double doses here. So, man, looking forward to watching all these games today, and hopefully my name is at the top of that FanDuel 200K today, Chris, because if that's the case, so. Man, oh, man, I'm going to be you might catch videos of me streaking around my neighborhood around here if I win that 200K.
Streaking through the quad. Hell yeah, I like it.
You never know.
Love it.
Get a couple of them Modelo's flowing, you never know.
Absolutely. So would love to see it. If it's not you or me, hopefully it's somebody out there listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the deep dive into some of these games. Let us know your thoughts here. Try to get to as many props and things we like as possible. Don't want to flood you guys with picks. I think we narrowed it down pretty well there with some of our favorite bets. But let us know here in the YouTube comments. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, like you said, or anytime at Woodward Bets on Twitter. Both of our handles always on the screen as well. Those DMs always open. And again, thank you to our friends over at Better Rate Mortgage. Make sure you guys are checking them out for any of your mortgage needs. Again, at Better Rate Mortgage, family is more than blood. If you're looking for that new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, better with Better Rate Mortgage. Better Rate, mybetterrate.com, or 248-480-4467 on the phone. For Scott, for our boy Easy, once again producing the show today, I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Enjoy the games today. Best of luck with your bets and your fantasy. And we will catch you right back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., breaking everything down on that Sunday slate. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day.